And first up, we get you breaking details coming in on how the Supreme Court has backed the release of Kamal Haasan's Thug Life in Karnataka. In fact, the Supreme Court has gone on to say, can't let hooligans dictate terms. The Supreme Court also added that they can't threaten Kamal Haasan for his remark. Releasing a film is the rule of law and Karnataka must follow that. Supreme Court also in one of the observations adding, don't watch the film if you don't like it, but you can't stop the release of the film just because you did not like the actor's remark. Kamal Haasan had made that quote-unquote controversial remark where he had said that Tamil had birthed Kannada. That remark that did not go down well with several pro-Kannada groups in Karnataka. In fact, we had seen that politicians cutting across political circles had united on this very one in Karnataka. Anisha Mathur joining us on the phone line with further details of what the top court has said and how this is in contradiction with what the Karnataka High Court had said, Anisha, because the Karnataka High Court in fact asked Kamal Haasan to apologize and they said that he was being egoistic about it. But the Supreme Court is saying it clearly that the film must release in Karnataka. It is people's choice. They don't want to watch it, they shouldn't. But that doesn't mean that the film is banned.
Well, yes, Resha, and interestingly, the High Court has also come under fire by the Supreme Court. The bench of Justices Ujjal Bhuyan and Justice Manmohan has in fact questioned why the High Court asked Kamal Haasan to apologize. The court said courts are the custodians of rule of law. It was not the court's job to ask him to apologize or resolve the situation. It is the rule of law demands that if a film has been granted CBFC clearance, it must be allowed to be released. Clear message going from the Supreme Court, which has now in fact transferred the case that was pending in the High Court to itself. They've said that we will hear this matter, the High Court will not hear this matter. They have issued notice to the Karnataka government and the pro-Kannada groups as well on and will take up this matter now on Thursday. A very, very clear statement coming in from the Supreme Court that if somebody has made a statement that you don't agree with, then you counter that with a statement. You cannot threaten to burn down film theatres, that we cannot allow the mob to dictate what is going to happen, that it was the government's job to ensure that the mob is kept under control and not to say that Kamal Haasan should apologize or the film should not be released. Interestingly, the Council for Karnataka attempted to argue that Kamal, the producer of the Thug Life movie, has told the High Court that he will speak to the pro-Kannada groups and try to resolve the issue, and only after that the film will be released. But the Supreme Court said that was not the High Court's job to do. The Supreme Court very clearly says you cannot put a gun to somebody's head and say that unless you resolve the situation, you cannot release the movie.
Anisha, I request you to stay on with us. Let's quickly also flash those details on our screens of how the top court has pulled up the Karnataka High Court in this case. Yes, like Anisha was telling us a short while ago, the top court has come down heavily on the Karnataka High Court in the Kamal Haasan case, where the Supreme Court has said, how can the High Court seek an apology from Kamal Haasan? Supreme Court has also said that it is not the High Court's role to seek an apology in such a scenario. The High Court had sought Kamal Haasan's apology over anti-Kannada jive. The Karnataka High Court now faces Supreme Court's wrath over the apology demand. Kamal Haasan, who had made that remark saying that it is Tamil that had birthed Kannada. This that had caused a huge controversy in Karnataka. And there was a growing demand of how Kamal Haasan must apologize, which he absolutely refused to. I want to go back to Anisha on the details that you were mentioning of how the High Court, the Karnataka High Court, has also been pulled up in this case by the top court, saying that it is not the High Court's job to ask for an apology.
Well, yes, Resha, as I was just saying, the Karnataka High Court's demand for apology has come under fire from the Supreme Court. The court very clearly saying the mob cannot dictate what will happen. The role of the court is to be a custodian of the rule of law and fundamental rights. They've very clearly said, why should the High Court say that you express the apology? In fact, after hearing the arguments from the petitioner and from the Karnataka lawyer, The Supreme Court has now said that they will hear this matter. The petition that was pending before the Karnataka High Court, the petition that had been filed by the producers of the movie, has now been withdrawn from the High Court and taken up by the Supreme Court, which will hear the matter now on Thursday. Because clearly the court saying that the law of the land is that everyone has freedom of expression. In fact, they cited the Imran Pratapgarhi judgment, the recent one, where fundamental freedom of expression has been defined by the Supreme Court. They also cited a Bombay High Court judgment which allowed a play which had insulted Mahatma Gandhi to be staged in Mumbai, saying that if you want to criticize somebody, it is your fundamental freedom to criticize and say what you want, as long as you're not inciting any violence against any person. So the Supreme Court very clearly upholding the rule of law, upholding freedom of expression, saying very clearly that if anybody in Karnataka, if anybody in Bangalore had a problem with what...
Right, Anisha, I want to thank you for getting us all those details. Of course, we wait and watch how the fate of Thug Life now turns out, given the fact that the Supreme Court has given a clearance to the film in Karnataka as far as the release is concerned. But will it be able to translate into box office success? Do the people accept it by and large? Is something we wait and watch.